is going. Okay, so this is an astrology reading for Tiffany Makovic on November 19th, 2021. And here's what I'm saying. When the first Saturn return, now you've heard about this, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. The reason the first Saturn return is so significant and is so much more than the next one or two that you might experience is because, Saturn is the great teacher. It truly is, because and people poo-poo, because nobody wants to learn lessons, right? But if you learn to accept the beauty of what it is showing you, what it is bringing to you, and say, okay, I'm going to pay attention and I'm going to go with the flow. That's Pluto. I always recommend, don't resist Pluto. It'll kill you. Saturn's gone through your entire chart. It's hit every planet. It's made every possible aspect. It's gone through every possible house. And that's your first experience with any of it. Everything is new. You have no background upon which to fall or to look for advice from within yourself. I mean, certainly you can look within yourself, but you have no experience with anything. Everything's a first. Everything is new. Everything is truly a big first-time learning experience for you. Mm-hmm. And you're still not hitting that yet. These are all new firsts. One of the biggest lessons I learned as I got older and I looked back and went, wow, such a shift. And this didn't come till, closer to my second Saturn return, where it's now and as you pay attention, because you seem to me to be a pretty bright person and very sensitive. So you're going to find as you go, especially when you start to go through your second Saturn sojourn through the chart, oh, I recognize this space. I've been here before and I got through it. And you're going to experience it from a different level if you're paying attention, which you obviously are. And not that it so much gets easier, but it is easier because you go, oh yeah, I can do this. The first time through, you don't know if you can do it. You don't know even all the time what it is. Right. And so one of the things, I'm getting to the point with the biggest thing is, when things are really bad and you're young, you tend to get immersed in, oh my God, things are bad. I'm never going to get out of it. But nothing lasts. And that's one of the things with transits and progressions in astrology. Nothing's going to stay the same. Well, some things are probably going to be similar. And maybe for a long time, something is going to be the same, but it isn't permanent. Mm-hmm. And the same, which, I don't like to push to people, but hey, let's be realistic if we're being realistic. When things are really good, that's not going to last either. Yeah. Right? So, when things are really shit, and I swear a lot, so forgive me.
No, that's good.
Yeah, it's not going to last. Mm-hmm. Look at what it is from a transit or progression point of view and see, when will this end? How can I work with this? Mm-hmm. And that'll get you through a lot of stuff. Okay. And really, you may hear people say, oh, I would never want to be young again. That's why. Because it's not the body. Everybody wants to be their young body forever. But who wants to go through this trauma of experiences? Nobody. I mean, really, I don't know a single person as they get older who wants to go back to youth, except for the physical niceness of it. But I will tell you the other thing of this, and I remember very much a friend of mine when we were in our 50s talking about, and we still went to rock concerts and, did all kinds of stuff. That the worst problem about getting older was nothing's new. Mm. You don't have that excitement of, wow, I've never done this before, or, this is exciting. This is a brand new thing. Not much is new because you've done pretty much of it. So you have to shift how you look at things. So, pat yourself on the back right now because you're getting through some very, very difficult times for you. I didn't do your transits because I thought we're just talking about your natal, but your parents they're going to be kind of tough to deal with in some ways because they're going through a pretty big trauma themselves.
Right.
And they're not thinking as clearly as they would if they weren't going through this trauma. I mean, even the nicest, I had possibly the nicest divorce in history, and it was horrible and horribly traumatic. And I've always said, I do not know how people who are fighting get through a divorce, because we were really nice to each other, but so be conscious of it's traumatic for you and you're going through a lot, but also be conscious that your parents may not be as reliable in terms of thinking clearly, responding non-emotionally or in an emotional manner that's good for you, because they're going through their own huge, horrible, horrible trauma. Think about everything they thought was solid, safe in their lives is not there. It's a biggie. And for you kids, it's hard too, because you counted on that as well. And it's not there. So this is a pretty tough time. We'll take a look at your transits, as we just to see what's going on with you. So let's put your chart. Well, do you want to say anything? I mean, I don't mean to monopolize it.
No. Just like, I'm sorry to hear that it was still really difficult, even though.
No, we're still friends. We've been divorced 37 years. So yeah, and we're fine. We're fine. Yes. So, yeah, but I'm just saying, whether your parents are showing it to you or not, they're going through an extremely difficult time. Yeah.
I mean, part of their instability, I feel like, has impacted the way I view relationships too. And we might get into that, we might not, but
okay.
I just the fact that they went into the relationship in what I thought was a good mindset, just we'll deal with anything as it comes up, and that their families knew each other, and that it was more than just that initial spark that had them get into a relationship. I thought that was all that needed to happen, and things that did not even seem possible, like my dad thinking that my mom was having an affair with her cousin, and the fact that my mom started seeing that he didn't really take her emotions into account, even though she wasn't sharing them. And just being able to see all of the things that happen in their relationship that they should have been able in theory to work through, and not being able to see past their own, or that it was
they're
jarring.
human.
They are, yes.
That's a big revelation.
Yeah.
Because they've always been, I can look up to them, they know what they're doing, but they're just people. That's a point in life too, by the way, where you recognize, wow, they're just people, and this, in many ways, you should probably think about this as giving you some insight into relationships as you go forward and maybe get married and, whatever. It's not that easy. Marriage is not easy.
Right.
Yeah. And since you have Libra on the 7th house cusp, do you want to get married at some point? No? Okay. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to. Or be in a committed relationship. Doesn't have to be a legal one.
It's just scary to me.
Yeah. Well, it's scary for everybody, believe it or not. No, I mean that seriously. I do. I'm sorry. I'm being a counselor, not an astrologer, but I want you to be okay. It's scary for everybody. I will tell you, okay, just to give you, I do hear you, believe me. I got married at 23. I got divorced at 36. And then I had, after 2.5 years of being, just kind of going out periodically, but not being involved with anybody. I got involved with somebody I thought I would just be having a real quickie thing with, and that lasted 8 horrible years. And I look back on that as to maybe the reason I stayed was because I didn't want to have another failure. Okay. But I finally came to the point where I just can't do this anymore. My life is going down the tubes because this guy is going down the tubes and my life's connected to him. I was, unattached, but periodically, getting involved a little bit here and there with somebody for 7 or 8 years. And then I reconnected with somebody that I had known briefly, not as a dating situation. I was dating his best friend in college, and I knew him through his best friend. And after 33 years, we all got reunited. And I was friends with him for 4.5 years. And we showed our absolute worst parts of each other that whole time, till we realized we really loved one another. And even though we knew each other very well, we knew the absolute worst we could be, we saw, we finally really let ourselves go and were terrified of what this would mean to be in a committed relationship. But we worked really hard to get there before we even said, yeah, I think I'm in love with you. Well, guess what? I'm in love with you too. And I don't want to be. It was like, oh, me neither. But here we are. And, and then we started to it was, part of it was so fabulous because we really knew each other and we really believed we needed to be together. And it was good. And our charts really supported that as well. But it was terrifying to be that open and vulnerable to somebody else for both of us. And unfortunately, we were able to talk about how horrifying this was. And, eventually, probably, embarrassed to say, at least 2 years into the relationship, I finally started to relax a bit, not 100%, mind you. And I think he was probably about the same, because, it was every once in a while we'd be like, oh my God, what am I doing? This is frightening. But it'd be like, okay, we're going to get through this. And like you're saying about your parents, he said, okay, here's our deal. Because he had been divorced because his wife cheated on him, which is pretty horrible to when you've made this commitment. It's really terrible to have that be true. And he said, here's our deal breakers, and they're the only deal breakers. If we fall out of love with one another, that's a deal breaker. And if one of us cheats, that's a deal breaker. Anything else that comes up between us or around us, we will work with, no matter what it is. There's no out. I thought, okay, because that's a real, but I will tell you that that's part of relationships, is taking that leap of faith. Mm-hmm. And you are coming out of a trauma right now. You're in it. I don't know that you're coming out of it yet, but you're certainly in a trauma right now that you have to get through and put into a comfortable spot for yourself before you can even think of going forward in any kind of relationship. So don't say for sure, I'm never going to be in one. You don't know. Life evolves. And that's, I'll try to get off my soapbox now. Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's, you have so much in your chart that is really, though, a help to you. So do you have anything else you want to say before we start looking at your chart? Okay, I'm going to put your chart on the screen. So we have that. Let's see. Hopefully I can do this. Are you seeing my solar fire? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I can move all this Zoom junk. Okay, so let's see. I want to look at my notes so I don't skip anything. We'll come to the interception in a bit, but one of the problems with that interception is it intercepts your sun and it intercepts your Mercury. Those are really tough planets. Well, it's not like fun to have any of the planets intercepted, but some of the outer planets are less traumatic. But that's your spirit that is blocked. And that's your communication that is blocked. So this is, very difficult for you no matter how you look at it. On the other hand, though, you have an exalted moon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that the moon could not be in a better place than it is. So that's very helpful. You also have Venus in domicile. And if you need to ask me what I'm talking about, if something's not clear, please jump in. Okay. And jump in anytime. Mars is in domicile because it's, the code. I mean, this is, Uranus is in domicile.
Yeah.
Think about that. That's pretty big right there. Most people don't have that much help. Now, granted, you've got some difficulties too, because you've got Saturn in its fall. And there's your, putting structure that is pretty difficult because it's not in a happy place. And Saturn in your first house then is also blocking that Aries energy of I can get out there and I can make stuff happen, which apparently you can anyway, but that Saturn does not help. And usually Saturn in the first house brings some sort of a depression with it. So don't be surprised by that. But think about it from this perspective. Your soul chose to come in with this. Right. So there must be a reason behind that of what did your soul want to accomplish or confront in this lifetime that you needed to do. You came in with a lot of help, a lot of support with those planets in their home signs, but you also gave yourself some real challenges to get through. So why did you choose those challenges? It's really a question to be asked. And the nodes being intercepted is a pretty interesting situation because I haven't found that all that often, but it does happen. And obviously it's happened with you. So, and you have an unaspected Neptune. Did you realize that?
I did not.
Yeah, Neptune has no aspects to it. And do you know what an unaspected planet does or how it operates?
Isn't it like more potent that way?
Yeah, it can be something that takes over the chart because nobody else in the chart, and I tend to talk about the planets as people, is tempering it. Nobody's saying, no, you can't do that, or you have to do it this way. It has no boundaries.
And Neptune already has an issue with boundaries.
There you go. There you go. And think about what your interceptions are. You got a Pisces interception.
Yeah.
So that Neptune, if things seem confusing to you and you can't grab onto anything solidly, think about, oh, that could be Neptune operating for me because it's not helping me to see the solidity of things or the boundaries of things. And it's confusing, right? And it's deceptive. And you go, is this real? I don't know. How can I know? Well, that's a real difficulty. Now, Saturn in its fall is probably trying to help, but it isn't very powerful to give you reality because Saturn is definitely reality. And where is it? It's in your first house for you, saying, I'm trying to give you some reality, but I'm, really kind of incapacitated. I'm doing the best I can. But that Neptune is something to pay attention to. Now, I personally believe that you can use the energies of the planets, even when they're difficult or problematic, if you choose to find a way in which you can have them have an outlet according to the kind of energy they are. So for you with that unaspected Neptune, what are the positive parts of Neptune? Well, it's inspirational, right? So it's artistic, it's creative, it's spiritual. It can connect with the outer realms from a cosmic perspective of, bringing the cosmos inside. I believe in your email, you said that you were looking to start your own business or you have your own business.
Looking to start one, but definitely
What kind of a business were you considering?
Well, recently, more recently, I was thinking about doing something like astrology related where I could like create charts for people that are more like incorporated with the energies that their chart represents.
Is this a visual thing then?
Yeah.
Okay. That would be really a good use for the Neptune energy.
Right.
That would be a real positive way to pull that Neptune that's kind of out of control in many respects. And from the negative side of that, that's not good. You know, you want to grab that and pull it in and say, you know what, come over here and do some good stuff. And so, yeah, that would be a really nice way to use that, because that's, you know, a spiritual kind of connection, and it's creative and it's inspirational and all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah. Okay. So that's a good idea. What else were you going to do?
Well, I was also thinking about, okay, I had so many ideas, and
Yeah, well, good.
like now I'm forgetting all of them.
Okay. Well, you can jump in with them as they come back to you. I have that kind of brain too. So, but you have a Mercury retrograde, so that's not, you know, that makes you think a little bit differently anyway. But Mercury is in Virgo.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah. So did you remember any of the other businesses that you were thinking of?
Well, okay, so not a business, but I was thinking about like working in the finance sector, just because it's something like my dad really emphasized growing up. And like I know that even with Neptune and all of the other like potential pitfalls of like working in something that's so detail oriented, I also have the Mars in the, I guess in this chart it's in the 7th, but
what do you usually use? Do you use Coke or something?
I have used whole sign houses.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But that's also like a recent development. I had been listening to Chris Brennan, and he uses that. So
that appears to be a trend toward whole sign and traditional Hellenistic in your generation, which is, you know, interesting to watch too. Okay, yeah. And, you know, as you know, there's no right or wrong or perfect house system. The reason I personally use Placidus is because in my own chart, I have an interception and it completely fits my life.
Yeah.
And what really happened in my life. And Coke also, I think I have an interception in Coke as well, but it puts my planets in the house where that is not what happened in my life. But Placidus fits it, and everybody has to find their own system that really fits what they are and what they're doing, kind of thing. So, you know, if whole house works for you, then great, go with it.
Does Coke resonate at all, though?
With me? You? No.
Yeah. No. Okay.
The angles are the same, but the angles are the same in any of them, you know, sign wise. I don't remember if the degrees are different, but it puts my sun, my south node, my sun and south node are in my 5th house in Placidus, and that really does describe my life. And in Coke, they're in the 4th, which no, that is just not where I have been in life, you know. So it's yeah, that's why. But I you know, if whole house fits you better, then by all means go with that. And it's fun. I look at whole house sometimes too. There's an astrologer that I took a webinar with through Kepler College. Do you know Kepler?
Yes.
Okay. Charlie Obert, I believe is his name. And I think he's the one that did this. He might not have been. It's, you know, in the pandemic period with everybody being on Zoom and the whole world available, just kind of all turned to mishmash because I've taken so many. But somebody who said you can use both systems together and it will give you a really strong insight into things. So the way that he did it was doing Placidus on the inside, and then just, I don't know what program he had. It wasn't solar fire, but he was able to put the whole house signs around that in the program. But I mean, you can print this out and put the whole sign on a piece of paper with, you know, around, draw it around the chart you've just printed, or imagine them. It's not hard. But he said, you know, if you do this, and it really worked, and it worked for me as well, you know, you can get a very different perspective on what you're doing, and it'll give you information you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And they both work. And then and I thought, oh yeah, that's pretty good. So, you know, it got rid of my interception, of course, and gave me some other insights. But back to you. So, you know, the other, with that Neptune, anything creative that you're going to do in any concept, and it doesn't have to be artistic, whatever, that Neptune, you can pull the better energy from it, because it needs some kind of a control, which you may be getting from transits and or progressions. But natally, that Neptune is, you know, it's what I like to refer to as a wild card, and you don't know what it's going to do, where it's going to go, because nothing else in the chart is tempering its energy. And that can be a part of why you may have some confusion about things a lot, and not sure what to do, how to say it. And having your Mercury intercepted does not help you in terms of communicating. One of the things about the Mercury being intercepted, and also the Sun, but particularly the Mercury, is that when you say something to people, rather than them hearing this is thought out, this is detailed, they're hearing it as egotistical. Do you find that to be true?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, you know, that it's not egotistical, but that Virgo energy is coming through Leo. So even though the Virgo is like, I got all the details, I got all my ducks in the row, and I'm telling you, you know, exactly what this is, I've analyzed it, I've thought about what they're hearing is, aren't I special that I'm telling you all this stuff? Yeah, right? Is that not true?
It is, but oh my God, it's definitely something I struggle with a lot when I first meet people too, because I feel like Aries doesn't really help. Like,
but in a way it kind of does, but yeah, go ahead.
just because I will either like really, really think about things before I say them, or I will just like say things as soon as like they pop into my head, and then the person gets like a completely different impression. And like I'll try to correct myself as I'm going, like if I see like they're making a face or something, and then yeah, so
yeah,
they
so I would say that this Placidus chart works for you with the interception if you can verify that that is something that happens for you, that it does come out where you're just like, aren't I special, look at me. And that is not at all how you are trying to put the concept across, right? But that's the way they're receiving it. And that's because it is, all this Virgo energy is being overshadowed completely by the Leo. Because even if you had, if you didn't have the interception, you'd have Virgo on the 7th house cusp, right? And that would be, oh no, actually you'd have Virgo, I'm sorry, you'd have Virgo on the 6th house cusp. And even if your sun ended up in the 5th house in Virgo, you still have an outlet for Virgo energy to come out fine and normal, but you don't have that. So anything that comes out through, you know, of a Virgo nature, and for you that's communication and your sun, is going to look like, what? That's ego. You just want people to say, aren't I wonderful? And that's a detriment for you, because that isn't even close to how you mean it or what you're anticipating. And yeah, that energy of the Aries rising does not help with that. On the other hand, that Aries rising gives you a strength to fight for yourself. So there are benefits to having it, you know, but that's with anything. There are benefits and detriments to everything. You know, nothing's perfect. So yeah, that's probably your biggest issue. But the question would be, why did you come in with an interception? Why did your soul say that? And I've really, particularly with the nodes, because that's your karma, I've really been giving that a lot of thought. And basically, the best answer I can come up with is that you wanted to block dealing with the karma of that, or understanding the blockage, till you were older, and getting through elements in your earlier life till you had the energy, the understanding, the knowledge, self-knowledge, world knowledge, whatever it is, to deal with the karmic elements of it. Because you know, when you have interceptions, what's ever intercepted, not just, you know, you've got planets, that makes it bigger than if it were just the signs were intercepted and no planets or points were in it. A lot of times in youth, you don't even know this is blocked. But as you get older and by progression, things move along, you start to become aware of it. So it may be issues of dealing with this that, yeah, I'll be able to deal with that when I'm older and have more life experience, but I'm holding it back until that point. And so I need it to be intercepted. That's how I would look at why the nodes particularly. But also, you know, the sun at 0 Virgo, you know, it's almost 1 degree, but you're new to Virgo. And Virgo's a lot to handle in different ways than, you know, I mean, obviously each of the signs has a lot to handle, but I think sometimes Virgo in itself has even a more difficult time, because when most people are not extremely analytical or paying great attention to things, and Virgos are paying real close attention, and they love those details and they get wrapped up in them. And they're very good at pointing out and analyzing situations. And, you know, it's not always a popular thing with other people. So you may very well be holding that energy back until you have a better understanding of yourself and of the world at large before you let it out completely, or before you can deal with it and handle it. But that would be my overall picture of what's going on with that interception, because you're not an unaware person. So, you know, if you were, you're aware of this stuff, you just don't know what to do with it at this point, it sounds like. Is that correct? Okay, so let's see, what else did we have here? All right, you said, let's get back to what your dad said about, you know, going into finance. What kind of finance would you do? Because you have Pluto in the 8th, and that's other people's finances. Right. And it could be that, you know, Pluto, the position of Pluto tells us what this incarnation is about, why you came here in the first place. So transformation, certainly for you. And, you know, part of that could be, I'm going to transform from who I am right now into who I really am when I hit those Virgo planets, and I get very comfortable with that my own personal energy there, which I'm not necessarily ready to do. But Pluto in the 8th, also, you know, it's not a bad thing for working with other people's money. If you want to. That's the issue. Do you want to? And you have Venus sextiling it, and Venus is money, and it's in Libra, so that would certainly support that.
Right. I guess like a lot of it, anything that's holding me back has to do with fear, one, for like doing something because I think my dad will support it. And then also fear of just like doing things well. Like I feel like I'm currently an account coordinator, and like a lot of it has to do with like making sure things ship out on time, basically. And I don't feel like I've been very organized, or at least as organized as I could be. And like I'm not sure like what has been preventing me from getting there, because like it's not like I'm trying to be distracted. Like I actively avoid like keeping things around me. But I guess, okay, so this is actually something that I recently discovered as well. Like I could potentially have ADHD and like that could be making my work life difficult. So just like if I guess this is like more of like something that I should be doing going forward, like trying to test how I react in situations differently in this job before like taking on another one.
A different job or starting your own business?
Well, I don't know if starting my own business even like that to me is even scarier. Like, don't most people start their business while they're working so that like
Probably. It's, I've started a few different businesses and usually I've got two jobs going on at the same time. Yeah,
right.
just because you kind of need the second income, or you need the safety income till you get the business up and running. But, the kind of thing that you're talking about with the charts, that you could easily do in your free time, I would think, and you'd have fun doing it. But go ahead, keep talking about what you are looking at and what's going on with the job that you can't get organized or you don't feel like you're organized.
Yeah, so I really think it might just be like the like constant, like I'll shift my ideas like from one thing to the next. Like I won't like keep focused on a single task. And I was actually even just listening to Tim Ferriss, who like talks a lot about like business strategies and stuff like that. And he was like, if people are looking at emails and they cycle through, they're like, if they get distracted, most likely they're not responding to that first email. And like that I've found happens so often. And that's where,
What does he mean, not responding to the first email in line?
like once it's opened and then like shut, like close the window, then like it ends up like
it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I have that too. Have you considered when you're doing stuff that you are drawn to, i.e. like, doing those charts, do you get distracted easily or are you able to concentrate?
No, I'm able to concentrate, but
There you
usually
go.
I feel like I'm doing that thing as a distraction. Is that not like a
Not necessarily. I mean, if you are able to concentrate on that, that's a signal that you really like it, that you're really involved, that you can become with it. Whereas the job, you're like, oh, my brain's over here, my brain's over here. Maybe it's telling you this job does not interest me.
right?
Does your job interest you?
No, not at all.
There you go. Here's the thing. We live in a society that does not take into consideration who we are and where we're getting placed. Okay. Yeah, because right, is that you obviously, if you're doing something that you find interesting and important, you are concentrating and you're not distracted from it. Yeah. If you're finding something that you can't concentrate on the job that you're supposed to be doing, it may not be you, it may be the job that isn't right for you. But what it's doing, and this is where most of us get stuck, is it's bringing us money. And we get stuck in that, that circle of, I got to do this to live, and to live, I have to do that. And but not, and then you wake up 30 years later and you're like, damn, I've kind of wasted my whole life. Do not do that.
Okay.
Because that is not to your benefit. Why do we have so many antidepressants out there? Because people are miserable. And, I'm not faulting anybody because it is hard to be, I'm going to go out on the edge, but you've got Uranus in Aquarius, which of course everybody in your age group does, but you've also got Jupiter there and it's in the 11th house. You might, this is take the risk. You're at a position where you're not so far along in life that you can't give up what you have or take the risk of losing it. You also can move back with your dad if you have to. Is that not true? I'm not asking if you want to. I'm asking, from a financial safety point of view, if you need to move back with him because you can't support yourself for a bit, would he let you?
That's what I'm actually saying, because he did tell me when I was leaving that there's no coming back, but I don't know if he was saying that out of hurt or if he genuinely meant it.
Well, I'll just tell you this. When I left home, and my dad sat down with me and worked on my finances. I moved out when I was 21. And I was still a university student, but I was working full-time and going to school part-time, completely supporting myself. Except my parents let me live at home and eat. But I did really want to get out of there. And my dad sat down, worked through my salary and what I had to spend. And he's like, you can do it. You can do it. And they had always said, once you leave here, you are not coming back. Okay. Give us this key. I'm like, oh, really? They're like, why would you need a key? You don't live here. So, and absolutely, you sink or swim, sweet pea, good luck. And after a couple of years, when it was clear that I was responsible, and he said, I just told you that because I didn't want you not to commit to succeeding. And if you ever need to come back, you can. Of course, he turned my bedroom into a meditation room. So it was really a place. You can sleep on the floor. How's that? But, but your dad may be saying, I mean, think about the hurt that he's going through, that you want to leave. He's going through a lot of other stuff. He may or may not really mean that. And when he sees that you are strong enough to take care of yourself, but now you've hit a rough patch, he might be very open to saying, come on back. Well, I'll help you. So don't rely on, I mean, I'm not saying ignore that because he may really mean it, but at the same time, there's a pretty good chance that he's open to taking you back and helping you once he sees you really gave it a try and you're just hitting a rough patch. Your dad would, I'm thinking your dad's more the Saturn dad than the sun dad. Yeah. And so, he's what's his sun sign?
He's actually a Virgo at the same degree.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. We can probably take a look at your parents too, if you want to, but that kind of, I'm solid on this and in a way he's restricting you. Yeah. And he's also restricting you, and I'm not criticizing him, but he's also restricting you by saying, go for the practical, go for this, even if it's not what you want. So that's why I'm thinking he's more represented by Saturn in your chart than the sun. And you may be more like him than he likes to admit. So he sees all his negative qualities in you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had that same father. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Now, let me give you what I was looking at in here, just to get that into it, and then we can kind of ad lib. So, all right, so we know, also you have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets retrograde.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Yeah. 5 out of, 9?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, that's a lot. And so, another aspect of those retrograde planets are you are really supposed to absorb within and go within and really be about yourself from an analytical point of view. Now, I would normally say, if you have so many planets below the horizon, like real abundance of planets below the horizon, you're an introvert, you see things from a subjective point of view, and you interpret everything through your own personal filter rather than what the world thinks. But you've got them evenly divided in the hemisphere, in northern and southern hemispheres. So it's not like you are a complete introvert or an extrovert. You're pretty balanced in that. You can, but Your sun is, and your moon, so the two luminaries are below the horizon. So that would bring you into a more private attitude to begin with. And then with the retrograde planets saying, let's internalize all of these kinds of things. Now, granted, the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are retrograde almost half the time. So how unusual is that? It's not. But for your particular chart, it's important to note this energy is being internalized. So, with and Pluto, you have a direct Pluto, but you've got this unaspected Neptune. It's retrograde. So all the Neptunian energies are being held within as opposed to being able to be expressed out. And Uranus retrograde is making you actually a little more unusual than other people. And that's not a bad thing either, because who makes the world move forward? The people who aren't the standard. So consider that a good thing. But it also, pulls into you saying, I'm not necessarily your norm. And getting comfortable with that is an important part for you. It's a very wide inconjunct to your sun. So Uranus, being different is difficult for you, even though you are. And, who's the more interesting people in the world? The people who aren't standard. Right? So pat yourself on the back for that. Give yourself some credit. You're unique, more unique, even though unique, you can't be more unique if you're just unique, but still, and feel like I want to say you're more unique than other people. And that's makes you special in a good way, because you're going to see life from a very different perspective. That Saturn retrograde, you have the ability to internally discipline yourself, but you also are probably too severe on yourself with it. And, so yeah, the discipline aspect between you and, the world kind of thing. You are good at self-disciplining. You can make yourself you go to work, don't you? And you do all this stuff and you hate it. And then you're doing it anyway because you're disciplined. But you also, you really need to consider using that job as a stepping stone to getting yourself towards something that will make you happy to do and also bring you an income. What would you consider? Do you have any interest in finance at all?
Yeah, actually.
Okay.
And this relates to a lot of what you've been talking about, like even when you were saying that, like the whole job and economics of our country and everything. Like I am very interested in NFTs and like the whole blockchain like economy right now.
Then start moving toward that as well, because you have anything that you're going to do with other people's money is not a bad idea.
Okay.
Because and here's the thing, when you're looking at the houses that planets are placed in, those houses have myriads of things they represent. Finding which one to pull out and say, oh, this is where I'm going, is really the tough spot. But if you have the potential to do stuff with other people's money, and if you find an aspect of that, what you're saying, I am interested in this, then go toward that, get your foot in the door there, because you can, I bet you wouldn't be distracted.
Okay.
Because it would be of interest to you, right?
Yeah.
And then you can also do your horoscope stuff on the side till you get that up and running. There's no reason why you can't do more than one thing.
Right.
Yeah. And especially if you're enjoying them. And if you're getting in with people who are working in the field, I have just about this much understanding of NFTs. I've just recently started paying a tiniest bit of attention to what they are. Those are people that you probably have a lot in common with, who would be, easy for you to relate to, easy for finding support in who and what you are, because you have a commonality. You have Capricorn on the midheaven.
Yeah.
business of any kind would be appropriate for that. But people also see you as somebody who is extremely competent. Now, you may not feel like you are, and you may not even be, although I think you are, but that's how they see you. And they see you as organized. Now, also think about the fact that the Capricorn is also on the 11th house because of your interception.
Right.
And so remember that the 11th house is not only friends, but groups that you could be a part of. So a Capricornian group, something that does business, is not an inappropriate group for you. And then you've got Jupiter there. And Uranus is accidentally dignified simply by being in its home house. So this is all good for you. So when you're talking about, and aren't NFTs, aren't they basically a group kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So
and
that would,
like art related too, like to bring in that Neptune as well.
Okay. Yeah, I like just last week started seeing stuff about that and going, oh, okay, I still don't really understand it, but I have like a little idea of what it's about. That could be really, really good for you because look at what's in groups. And this is Uranus could not be better. Well, it could be in Scorpio, but hey, who's judging? So that's really good. And it's in the house of groups. So you want to be in a group that isn't the norm, which I don't think NFTs have reached norm yet, have they? No, they're really on the outer edges of what's happening. Is that true? As I say, I don't really understand them.
It's 100% true. There's like every single person I've talked to about this has been telling me the same, like giving me the same feedback of like, I'm not really sure what this is, but I have heard of them before.
Yeah. And so that would be a good thing for you because look, you've got your Pluto, it's sextiles Uranus, and you've got a sextile with Venus, and Venus trines Uranus. This is pretty good. So start looking for groups or organizations that can support what you want to do. That's going to be extremely beneficial to you because Jupiter's there. And Jupiter, is at 15, so it's kind of wide, but, it's sextiling Saturn, even though they don't really like each other. They're working together here. And, they are. I mean, they're only 4 degrees apart and they're in a nice sextile. Jupiter can bring you a lot of benefits, not only from the group, but also in the structure of things because it's sextiling that Saturn and it sextiles your ascendant. So consider the connections between you walking into a group that changes people's lives with money and goes deeply into functioning with other people's money. Pluto's there. I can really make a difference. And Venus says, yep, I can help all you guys do that. And I'm here for money. That's what I rule, money. So let's be doing it. And this is other people's money. So, and it's Scorpio. So here's one of the things to keep in mind. Now, Pluto's not in Scorpio, but who cares? It's, it's going to be, it's generational. So the sign is really more about your generation than you personally, but where it is about you personally. Scorpio's on the cusp of your 8th house. So Scorpio says, I can look beneath the surface. I can pull up anything I need that's hidden. So when you get involved in this, you have the ability to really go deeply, pull up stuff, be intuitive about it. And Pluto and Scorpio are also about merging. We don't always talk about the fact that the 8th house is really about merging. So Scorpio and Pluto are as well. And if you're looking at the double rulership, with Mars could not be better, and it rules your ascendant and Mars is very happy. So this is not bad. This is not bad. This is actually very good. And, it's a wide sextile, but Mars is sextiling your sun. So, and, that could be pretty helpful to helping this intercepted sun. Now, your sun even while it's intercepted, and doesn't have a direct outlet, it rules Leo. So it is, I would say, I don't think your sun is as incapacitated by being intercepted as your Mercury is. Because the sun says, yeah, I'm in Virgo and I can't really get that out clearly, but hey, I'm coming through my home sign. So I don't mind that attention. I don't mind people thinking, oh, look at you looking for attention. But the part that the sun goes back is Virgo says, wait a minute, I don't want that kind of attention. And the sun's saying, yeah, but I do, and I can get it. So, because I'm going through Leo. By the way, this is the weirdest reading I've ever given so far. Just so you know, I don't normally do it this way, but I try to do it for the fitting. And you're an astrologer, so you understand what I'm saying. That's that. Okay, let's see some of these notes. Honestly, I'm usually very much more organized than this. It's terrible. I'm embarrassed.
I appreciate it. Like I feel like I am getting a lot out of this. Like
good, because otherwise I'd be very upset with myself. Now, one of the things to think about, and I want you to think about this very seriously, is with your work and issue, is think about your sun and your Mercury, your North Node, and your Venus are all in the 6th house, which is the house we say of health, but actually it's illness. So health comes in there. It's also your house of everyday stuff and work, your job, not necessarily career. When you are doing work that is not making you happy, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to get sick.
Okay.
Right? This is really important for you, especially for you, because you have these personal planets in your 6th house. So you don't want to keep doing things that do not make you happy, that are everyday stuff. I mean, I've known enough people, especially with 6th house planets, and they hate their jobs. Listen to people talk, and listen to what happens, what they say, and then what happens to them. And you can start to put together, I hate my daily life, I only live for the weekends, and illness. Think of the amount of illness in our country, in the world, but particularly, I can't speak for everybody else's country, but particularly ours. And the people who are like, every morning they get up and I hate this job, and oh, hey, what do they get? They get cancer, they get, whatever, all kinds of illnesses, physical illnesses, maybe mental, but probably physical. And they're not coordinating that. I hate my life. And on the esoteric level, cancer is a disease of anger. And where this has been something I've been watching for many, many years. And long story short, was a stringer in photography for a local newspaper. And they asked me to go document a meeting this was a really long time ago. That's probably about your age. And it was cancer survivor support group. And I'd never been exposed to, because my family is an anger out family. So, if somebody has an issue, they're going to tell you. And if they can't, they'll get somebody else to tell you. So, but nobody's holding it in. There's no cancer in my family. So I really had no exposure to it. So I'm sitting in this, and I didn't have to stay. I could just have taken the photos and left. But I started to be very fascinated, because these people, every single one of those survivors was angry. And I mean, really, it was so obvious. And I don't think any of them realized it. And they were fighting this cancer, and I'm going to win this battle. And I'm angry about this, and I'm angry about that. And I started to watch over many years who gets cancer and what type of cancer do they get, and where is the malady. Like lung cancer, you can find they don't express what they really feel. So where does that hit them? In their lungs. That's Mercury, right?
Crazy.
You don't want that to happen to you.
No.
So start paying attention to move yourself. You don't have to do this immediately, but start working toward, I'm going to be doing things that make me happy, to get up every day and go to my job and say, wow, this is cool. I like doing this. If you find you are getting up every day and saying, I hate my life, change your life. Do not stay with that. That is death on a physical level, and you're still alive, and you don't want to do that. I'm sorry, I'm really being mom here, and I don't even have children.
Really need to hear this, especially because, okay, a lot of what I do is like I expose myself to people who are like later in the industry, like even that I was telling you, Tim Ferriss earlier, and like what they've been saying is like, oh, all of these kids are like coming out, they think they like can get whatever job like is like perfect for them right out of college, and just like all of this, it's like demotivating, and I still listen to it. I'm like,
okay, I have no idea who he is, so I don't know what he does.
Not even someone that you should care about, but like okay. It's like yeah.
But you know, I mean, you've got plenty of time to make up money, you know, like, oh, I don't have a great bank account, and you know, I'm sorry to bring myself into this, but I see a lot of me in you. Okay.
No,
you know, I did not get a regular job. I've had very few regular jobs, and I usually couldn't stick them out. The shortest job I ever had was 10 minutes. But
oh my God.
I know. I realized, no, I can't be doing this. Thank you. Bye. And one job for a day or 2 days. And, you know, but here's the thing. And this is particularly, I'm sorry, trying to get out of the sun, particularly important with your Uranus, because your Uranus is in aspect to your sun. Okay, but also important in aspect to your Pluto and your Venus, but it's a difficult aspect with your sun. So it's harder for you to grab onto that Uranian energy and say, you know what, I'm going to buck the trends. I'm not going with the system. I'm going to do what makes me happy. Screw the rest of it. I have Uranus trine my sun, and I have gone with, okay, you don't do it this way. I don't care. I'm going to do it my way. And I've had a lot of negative impact from other people because they go, you just don't care what other people think of you, do you? And I'm like, no, I don't. You know, I had to think about it, but you're right. I never thought of it from that perspective. But I also have had a life where I didn't have money. I always lived hand to mouth, but I always made it. And I started businesses, and I had fun doing this. I didn't stick myself in jobs that were going to pay me, that I was miserable, and that I was denying my inner self to just go forward and become like a robot. That's not life. And I think part of, sorry, I'm not good in the sun. I burn very easily, even though I'm at home. Part of, I think, what's happening in our move into the Aquarian age is more of saying, I'm going to do what's right for me as an individual within the collective. And you've got some serious collective stuff going on here. Okay. So you want to take good care of yourself regardless of what everybody else is telling you, and follow your heart and take some time. Do you meditate?
I have been recently.
Okay. You know, really let yourself feel what it is you want to do for you, no matter what other people are saying, no matter what other people are doing. That Uranus and Jupiter in your 11th house of groups and organizations and friends, you know, is telling you something there. This is the place to go. Now, with the interception, if you remember from the lecture, when you've got, okay, this house, the 10th house, is an intercepted house, not a sign, but the house, because it's only Capricorn. And it's the 10th house. It doesn't, you know, that's pretty good. Yep. You have the ability to be the one in authority, the one that makes the business happen. And you are bringing that ability over here into groups and organizations. So you're filtering what you are so good at already into groups and organizations and friendships as well. So you're pulling that. Same thing down here with the Cancer. What did I make notes to myself about that? Yeah, okay. Here's what I said about the Cancer houses. You have, because the fourth house, you're good. The Cancer is, comfortable for you. And you've mastered that so well that now you're pushing that into the fifth house of creativity. So what's Cancer about? Well, emotions, right? And warmth and family and stuff. So you're using, and this is maybe something that can help you, through your therapy as well. Use emotional issues to create something, to be creative. And, maybe the horoscope stuff is something like that, because it's creative. You're creating special charts for people. So that's creative, and it's something that's personal to them. And that would probably feel to most people very caring coming from you. Oh, it's really all about me, and you made this, and blah, blah, blah. You have very strong needs for security, because Cancer and Capricorn are big time. We need security, and they are always conscious of being insecure unless certain things are in place for them. So, the fact that and certainly we all want security in life, and that's why we work, to get the money to feel secure. But you have to be careful. You particularly need to be careful what you find that security in, because you don't want it to be something that is going to dampen your spirit, and possibly over here in the sixth house say, yeah, well, I hate my life, but here I am. You don't want to do that. Now, the moon is so well placed in Taurus that the rulership of these two houses is very good. It's a lot of opportunity. If you can bring your emotional well-being or your emotional attitudes into that creativity, you could be very successful with that, because it will spark something in other people. Certainly not everybody. You can't please everybody. Don't even try. But there will be an emotional sensitivity to it that will speak to people. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Let's see. Ability to create something of a physically pleasurable nature is what I said, because it's Taurus. Mm-hmm. And Taurus loves being, physically in luxury, and they just love, they're very sensual. They're probably, in my opinion, the most physically sensual sign in the zodiac. They like luxuries. It's Venus at her most earthy, practical, and what's practical? I worked for that. It's mine. It's physical. I got stuff. And it's, it's almost in the second house. So most astrologers, I have a lot of Virgo myself. So I'm always, well, it's not in the second house though, is it? It's in the first, but it's, I'm willing to say, okay, it's at least influencing the second house. So, with that idea, that physically pleasurable nature, but you want to speak to other people's sensibilities with that and use that in the creative aspects here. And that could bring you real success. It's not even, the moon is essentially sign-wise opposite Mars, but it's not by degree. It's not even within orb anywhere. So, that could be, you've got Mars in the seventh. Do you have issues in relationships? It's well placed in Scorpio, so probably not, but it is the ruler of your ascendant, and yet it's in the opposite house of the ascendant. That may be also a part of why you're thinking, I don't want to be in a relationship. And Mars is kind of a freedom lover as well. So, but what you might want to be looking for is somebody who brings more Venus into your life, because this is Libra on the 7th. somebody who is looking for that harmony, somebody who wants to be in a partnership. Okay, now the intercepted 10th and 11th houses, the 10th going into the 11th, power of influence, the ability to be seen and recognized professionally. So you definitely have that capacity. You definitely do. Capricorn on the 10th, a lot of benefits from that, just because it's where it should be, so to speak. And then when you can contribute all of that into the 11th house, because this is mastered, you've got this. Now you're saying, I got this so well, I'm going to bring it over to another place as well and expand this mastery. But you're still mastering this, but you're bringing in really strong, solid, I got this energy into this area. So consider, this, you want to bring your ability to organize and be businesslike, which you absolutely have, especially being Virgo and Mercury in Virgo, even though they're intercepted, these are leadership positions for you. You certainly have the ability to be a leader. And when you get to that leadership position, having Mercury and the Sun come through Leo will not be as difficult as it might be now, because people will expect you to be egotistical to an extent, which you're not egotistical, I would say. But, you understand that when it's coming through Leo, people don't misinterpret it. And with the Aries ascendant, you really have the ability to go out there, and the Mars rulership is very strong. You can go out and make anything happen that you want to happen. You have that ability. And you have all of these planets in their domiciles or their exaltation, which are saying, we're here. We've got you. We have energy for you that we don't always have for anybody else. So, that's good. Now consider too, and especially with Jupiter and Uranus in Aquarius, that the 11th house is also that Aquarian house by its natural positioning, and that's social groupings, and it's humanitarian activities. Do NFTs they're somewhat humanitarian, aren't they? I wasn't sure if I got that right.
I feel like they're trying to push the whole idea of decentralization, which is like making it so that the US bank isn't the one that is like taking over. And like there's a specific coin called Cardano in like the big the cryptocurrency sector that is looking to bank Africa. And that was like one that I was really interested in. So
okay,
there are
all of that really fits, and that's also, your generation is moving us further into the Aquarian age, which we've only just begun. We're really in the very early stages of it. But think about this from an Aquarian perspective, that this fits what should be in the future, as opposed to what we've had, which I'm happy to see go away. I just don't want people to suffer from it, which is the issue with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like the NFT is a very good choice, and you're interested in it.
Right.
And you have all of the capabilities to be good in it, have a great time with it, not be distracted when you're working on it. And all of these planetary connections really say, yeah, you could do that and be really good at it and happy.
Yeah.
So pursue it.
I'm sorry if it seems like I have this stuff figured out, because like in all honesty, like before jumping on this call, I had one friend's mom who, this is actually where I was talking about the finance industry. She reached out to me. She has her own company where she recruits people for it. And then my dad had spoken to an American Express recruiter, and he was trying to get me a job there. And it's like I know what I want, but
Mhm.
I feel like because those are close enough that I'm willing to accept them.
Uh-huh.
But
Are
like
you also willing to leave them? That's important to note. Ask yourself that question. If I go in here and I'm doing it for the temporary financial gain of it, am I also willing to leave it when I want to be doing something else that I might not be earning as much money?
exactly, it's like the temporary job that like you
Yeah,
end up
yeah,
staying at for 10 years.
exactly. And that would not be good. If you know, and I'm not saying don't take those jobs, maybe build up a great savings for yourself so you have something to be secure. And that moon really needs the security
Right.
of money. It does, and there's nothing that says you can't get money. Okay.
Right.
So you've got nice Venus here, but it's also Venus saying, oh, look, do it through something that's different with that Uranus. Do it with something that's deep with that Pluto in the eighth, and with the Venus almost in the seventh house and Venus in Libra, it wouldn't be a bad idea to do it in partnerships or with other people. That group stuff, all of that works for it. But when you're saying now, is either one of those jobs something that you would be good doing or enjoy doing to an extent for a period of time? Or are you going, oh man, if I have to do this, I'll do it, but I really don't want to?
It just doesn't align with my like higher ideals, I guess. So
Mhm.
I don't even know, that would be like Neptune, Pluto, like all of the things that you've been like talking about, like bringing up.
Yeah.
Um and like even Uranus, because like I've found through the pandemic, well actually even prior to the pandemic, that I've really aligned with like anarchist beliefs. And I don't
Mhm.
know, do you know like more than just like they're like people who go and bomb things or
Yes. Yes.
okay.
I was in college in the mid 60s.
Right, so
So yes, in fact, I almost married somebody who was an anarchist. I don't believe he bombed any places, but to be honest, I'm not sure.
oh my
So
god,
yeah, okay, yeah. There were
well
certain
okay,
things, behind the scenes that I never asked about. But
oh my
yeah,
god, okay, so
yeah.
wait, I do still, I have thoughts on this, because it's
Okay.
like the way I was introduced to the idea was actually through, one, I was studying chaos theory,
Mhm.
and two, I was taking an economics course where we were studying like the history of economics.
Mhm.
And my professor gave me an assignment with no clear goal. So I was like, I'm just going to do whatever I want.
Mhm.
And hopefully he'll accept this. So I um, ended up writing a paper on like where money actually comes from and how our like ideas of it have changed over
Oh,
time.
that sounds
And
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, and I ended up finding out that, well, a lot of different things about money, just in
Mhm.
general. Like it was originally just like an exchange, and like you were supposed to reserve like the value of something. Like people were using shells at the
Mhm.
beginning. And then
Mhm.
like everything changed in Europe because, okay, hold on. Not the point. I found this guy named Carne Ross who used to work for the UN, and he said that during 9/11, his whole perspective of what the UN stood for changed because they handled it so badly,
Yeah.
like in it, trying to retaliate and trying to come up with like a whole backstory of why they need to start this war. And he was saying that through his own study of chaos theory, that he discovered that anarchism, like starting from the ground level and working your way up, that's the only way that you can build a sufficient like society. Like
Mhm.
the government, by ruling from the top down, by saying like these are the laws, this is what we're going to do,
Mhm.
like I'm going to like force you to do this thing, like that doesn't work, because you always have like a different like leadership, for example, like never knows what the people below him
Proletariat.
are. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like it's just like there are constant struggles because the leadership doesn't know what the like underclassmen need, or
Right.
like what struggles they're going against, and the lower classmen don't see the value of the leadership. They
Because
don't
they're not
see
receiving the value. Yeah.
exactly.
And consider that Capricorn, which Pluto and Saturn, recently had the conjunction in, right?
Mhm.
In Capricorn, it's government.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh no. I've been watching this, the Pluto. I love Pluto. It's my favorite planet, to be honest with you. But I'm a Scorpio sun, so maybe that's the problem. Yeah, I mean, chaos. I don't like chaos, but sometimes it's the right thing. And I think we are in chaos right now with the pandemic, with all the changes in government. I mean, things are falling apart. And I'm glad of it, not because I want everybody to suffer, which way too many people are suffering because of it, but because it has to change. And I really am very positively looking toward the shift out of the Pisces age into the Aquarian age. I like the changes that are coming. I like that, we're looking to put people, the common person, in a better position, and government should be there to take care of people, not to benefit corporations. So yeah, and I will tell you that all of my friends are of the same mind. So, I get kind of pissed off when people think, well, baby boomers are doing this. No, not all of us, honey. Not all of us. Many of us are the reason you have all the freedoms and lax attitudes that you are benefiting from. So please give some of us credit for helping. I grant you, I'm very disappointed in my personal generation, because I thought, well, when we take over government, we're going to make some really good changes. Oh, no, it's the same old crap. And, all these people who went out protesting against the Vietnam War and stuff. Well, as soon as they got jobs, that was all gone. I don't care. I want my money, and I want my stability, and my nice car, and my nice house. And I'm thinking, then what were you doing out there? I mean, you didn't really, it's so, consider that a lot of things that, your age group does, like, yes, we're making a difference. Minimally, and I'm making this up, but minimally 50% of them are just doing it because it's expected of them, not because they mean it. And probably it's closer to 20% who really mean it. And they're setting the trends for that group, the age group. And they're probably not going to make changes because they're committed. They've thought this through. So when they get into power, that age group, the rest of them are probably going to be a lot more conservative than you would expect. That has been my personal experience with it. And I can tell you that I am extremely disappointed in my generation on that. But back to you. Did you, I'm sure you are aware of this. I'm sorry, I can't sit in the sun any longer.
No, it's okay.
Although it's following me, it's just the angle for winter. I could move, but I suppose I could. Well, anyway, yeah, I could, but I'd have to move my camera and all that stuff. So I'm just going to move over on the sofa here. When you started talking about all of that, you completely changed.
Yeah.
You got enthusiastic, you got happy, you were very focused, not distracted.
No.
Think about that. Think about that. You can be happy, but you're going to have to take control. And, you don't have to be in your absolute perfect place right away. You can get your feet wet in the financial world. You know what you're doing, but start pushing toward where you really want to go at the same time. And from what we're looking at here, that is really right for you. It is, and even if you didn't look at this, just listening to you talk about it, I can see you care about this. This is interesting. This is fascinating. I want to do it. And that Pluto in the 8th house is really saying, you know what? This is really why you came here, is to look at this. You know, we need people who are going to make the changes for the future. You can be one of those people.
Okay.
You know, you may not be famous for it, but you're there working toward it.
Yeah, I don't care for fame. I just like want to feel like what I'm doing
right, but yeah, you know, and I mean, famous people, I'm saying that really more because what you do is more important than what other people see or what they think, you know. All right, do you want to say anything else? Because I want to address the interception of Pisces and Virgo, because I did make some notes for myself on that.
I mean, the only thing I wanted to say was that I think your generation did do a lot. It just, the societal stuff was more difficult because you guys had a lot of family things that were difficult. Like the this book by Erin Sullivan, The Astrology of Family Dynamics.
I have that, but I haven't read it yet. And I like Erin Sullivan.
I think you would enjoy it, at least like in terms of giving like your generation credit. Like,
well, thank you.
There were just like stuff that she talks about. You guys also had.
One of my astrology friends is currently writing a course on family dynamics in the chart. I know, I can see it. You're like, ooh, that would be good. And I keep saying to her, how far are you? Because I really want to take this, but I don't think she's very far at all. She's busy with a lot of other stuff, but it's her focus to get this at some point. I'll let you know when she's got it done, because I'm sure it's going to be very good.
Thank you.
She's a Capricorn, but yeah, I forget what the rest of it is. We've looked at her chart a number of times. She's in a group with me, and you know, we all know each other pretty well in each other's charts, but I always have to pull it up. Anyway, looking at the interception of Pisces, okay, and Virgo. So with the Virgo, you know that Virgo is always looking for perfection.
Yeah.
And it does it. In the negative part of Virgo is that sometimes it can be caught up in the critique of things rather than seeing the thing itself. And can lose the significance of the experience because they're so busy analyzing it, they're not in it. Okay, and the problem also with Virgo is that it often sees the details but does not see the whole. So this is being blocked in your life. It's not allowing you to that. So, you know, and this is one of the things also that is coming through the Leo, that when when you are always questioning and analyzing, which you can't help it. I mean, not only is your sun there, but your brain is there with Mercury, you know, right? That the motivation of why you're doing all this can be misinterpreted as wanting to stand out, the ego kind of thing. Be conscious of that and don't let it bother you. As you get older, that's going to be less of a problem because people will be, you know, right now, everybody's feeling insecure in your age group because they're all going into, this is your big step out into big real life, right after school, and you know, and so anything that people are posturing a lot when you know, you haven't gone through your high school reunion yet. Now, I didn't go to my 10th year high school reunion, but everybody I know who's ever gone has said pretty close to the same thing, because you're about 28, 29 years old. Hello, Saturn return, for one thing, but that everybody is like, oh, you know, I'm doing this, and they're all ego, ego, ego. I got to show you that I've done well.
Right.
And then when you go to the 20th reunion, nobody cares because, you know, what are they, 40 years old or something? And they're like, I don't care. So, you know, and they just have a good time. Now, I have gone to 20th year reunions and they were just fun. Okay, now, so you've got that Leo on the cusp, which distorts what you're actually putting out there and makes it look more egotistical. With the Pisces interception, okay, there the problem is you might not dwell in reality, but be looking for escapism with Pisces. Okay. And you can see the whole, because remember, Virgo is the, the very specific, and I'm looking at all the details, and Pisces is, I don't see details. I don't see boundaries. I just see it all. And I'm one with all of it. So that's our Pisces, which, can be nice, but it also can sometimes be quite inappropriate for what we're dealing with. So discrimination is a difficulty there. And seeing the whole but not being able to figure out how to get to what you want because you can't see any details to how to get there. And you might get lost in the vision without knowing how to achieve it. Hey, kind of sounds like what we've been talking about. I want to do this, but I don't know how to get there. And people see you as more concerned with the whole of everything than you actually are, although you are concerned with the whole because you are looking toward how can we make a better world, right? And there's the Aquarius on the cusp of, I have all this going on and I want to be, in touch with the cosmos and the whole of humanity and all of this. And the Aquarius on this cusp says, yeah, bring it through. I will help you make it look humanitarian. I will help you bring all of this wanting to connect with the cosmos and wanting to be immersed in the whole. I can help you make that look pretty good. So I think the Pisces coming through the Aquarius in your case is beneficial, especially in talking about what you have been saying you really want to do, and how you're looking at things. I think the whole thing comes together in that kind of a perspective that you resources of other people is that 8th house issue, and your Pluto's there. Now that can mean a lot of different things, but based on what you've been saying, the part that comes out of the 8th house for you is other people's resources. And that is not only money, but the resources of how to make that better, how to bring people's positive energies out, because you can dig deeply with that Scorpio there and Pluto there. And as I said before, with the very nice sextiles to that Pluto in the 8th, and the trine from Venus to Uranus, and this, the sextiles from Uranus and Venus to Pluto, this is really good. This is a focal point in ever so many ways. Is all of this making sense and is okay for you?
Yeah, I think so. It's like crystallizing what I imagine things to be like if I were to like engage in the things that I really feel passionate about. And also like obviously the like having kind of like simultaneous like big picture and not being able to see the details. And
there you go. Yeah. But see, and I really think, especially after talking with you, that this energy is intercepted because it's waiting for you to get to the age or point in which now I can bring it out. Because it's still, the 6th and the 12th polarity, this is the service polarity, service to others. The 6th house is very specific, concrete, physical, earthly kinds of service to humanity. And the 12th house kind of service is that spiritual connection service to bringing everybody to a greater elevation spiritually and bringing an understanding of our connection to all things and being one as opposed to being separate. I don't see the details because there are no details to see. We are all part of the same. So I really think it's holding that off and allowing it to kind of gestate or gestate, however you say it, in you until you come to the point in later in your life where you've got a lot of other things in place such as your finances, what you're doing and, for your work and what you feel your contribution is. And then this is going to come through and say, and now I can put this into the big picture whole and bring it into the service of everybody.
Okay.
And because look at your North Node. I mean, your nodes are in this. This is your karma. Pluto's placement is the reason for the incarnation. The nodes tell us where in your life this is going to play out and how. So that North Node is the Virgo. So you know how to be a part of the cosmos, a part of the whole. And the Aquarius is saying, yep, and we got that. And look at this over here in your 11th house. The North Node is where you need to go to make that karmic progression in this life. And that is, I'm looking for perfection and a service, very concretely serving and making life better for everybody else. And I'm going to do that because I'm going to see all of the minutiae necessary to do that. And where is it? I'm going to make other people's daily lives as well as my daily life better because it's in the 6th house. So I do think that's what's happening. Do you have anything else you want to look at on this chart or talk about? I'm really open to it.
I was just wondering if there was a way. Okay, so I'm aware at least that I have a Pluto Sun square. And I do know that there are that's like a tension and it's generally perceived as like negative. That's like trying to hide and stuff, which is, I don't know, like that's where I feel like a lot of my avoidant qualities might come from.
Oh, okay.
But I was wondering if like there's a way to make that like have more positive
Well, if we look at the square as friction and the square energy says you cannot avoid having to pay attention to me. Okay? Because that's what a square is really about.
Right.
It's a trine, yeah, you can ignore it. A sextile, you can ignore it. The opposition, yeah, you got to pay some attention to it. The conjunction, got to pay some attention. The square, constantly, right? So you're not going to be able to ignore a square. When I was very early in classes, I had an instructor who said, karmically, and I don't know if this is true because I have 11 squares in my chart, so I don't know if I want to believe this, but he said squares are, what might have been like a conjunction in a previous life or an opposition, and you go, I don't have to deal with that now. I don't have to deal with that now. But now, because you haven't been doing the work, it comes back as a square. That's where fun. You can't ignore it because it's constantly like friction in your life. It's like the burr under the saddle kind of thing. You can't ignore that. It hurts. So that Pluto may be very well saying to your son, you gotta do this. This is not an option this time. That's what you're here to do, and that's what you're going to do. And until you do it, we're going to be pushing, we're going to be scraping, we're going to be punching, we're going to be doing anything to call your attention to it. And, I mean, you get my point in that, right? Yeah.
Actually, I feel like that makes so much sense, even for the whole ego thing of like, it's possible that maybe I am saying things that are more egotistical when I'm like first meeting someone because I'm insecure. And like that goes back to the Pluto thing because it's like, I'm not doing what I'm passionate about. I'm feeling that I need to like overcompensate in that area.
That's possible. That's possible. And, once you get more into doing what you're supposed to be doing and what's going to make you happy, don't forget all of this is moving along by progression. So this is going to dissipate to a good extent. It's always going to be there because it's your natal, but it's going to, that friction or that idea of I'm not expressing the true me because it's coming through the Leo, is going to dissipate. Are you ready to take a look at some progressions and see what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay, let me get that. We'll go to progressions right now. Okay. How familiar are you with progressions?
Not all that familiar. I
Okay.
think, yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I only think I've done a single like 1 month progression at one point, and that was it.
Okay. 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 Well, this is you as of this moment, and progressions are slow, so it's not going to be that. The only thing that's going to be really different in a month is the moon, because if the progressed moon moves approximately 1 degree per month. So you've just entered an Aries moon. So that might be why you're pushing out at this point, and you have not, this is the first time the moon is that right? Wait a minute. Oh yeah, okay. I'm sorry, I'm thinking, wait a minute. How can you start out with a Taurus moon and now it's in Aries, but then it went around. I'm like, okay. Because usually the progressed moon return is 27 and a half years about. So, that just as an aside to you to think about, between the ages of about 27 and 30 is when all this stuff happens that sort of resets for the beginning of everything going around, because the progressed moon comes back to its natal position at approximately age 27 and a half. And then somewhere between 28 and 30, usually somewhere around, most people I think have it about 29, you have the Saturn return. So the progressed moon sets that up. Saturn comes in. And then at that, what comes after that? There's a Uranian aspect. Uranus to Uranus. I can't remember which one that is right now. But so, those periods of time are like, whoa, you're being bombarded by all these very significant energies coming at you and changing and making. It must be a Uranus square to Uranus. Is that right? No, because that's
Right.
It is. I think it's at 42:20. Let me think. Because Uranus is an 84-year cycle. Half is 42. A quarter is 21. So there's something else with Uranus. It could. I made up a chart for another course that I teach. I'll try to remember to email you that chart so you can see the age things that happen with those three. If I don't email it to you, because I'm very forgetful, you email me and tell me you need that or you want it now, and then I will do it right away. But okay, there's two ways to look at progressions, and this is one way. It's not my personal preferred way, but it does have validity, and depending on the astrologer, this might offer more information. For me personally, I like to look at this around the natal chart to see where the changes have occurred. But this can certainly help to see kind of what's happening. Sometimes this really gives a real picture of the energy you're going through. You're never, ever going to have anything but the progressed moon progress through your whole chart. Because the sun, for example, and this varies from like 59 minutes a year to a 1 degree, 1 minute per year of life. But we ballpark that the sun progresses a degree per year, more or less. So you can see here, you're 24 years old and look where the sun is. It's at 24 Virgo. So that works. And yours may be, with 1 degree, 1 degree, 1 minute, I don't know. But this is based on your exact planetary movements because it's through the computer. Now, Mercury has not progressed very far in Virgo, but don't forget, you started off with a retrograde Mercury. right? So yeah, it could have I don't know how far back it retrograded, but if you have an ephemeris or you go online and look at an ephemeris, you can certainly see how far did it go back. But it's been in Virgo for for 24 years, and it's going to be in Virgo. That moves approximately 1 degree per year as well. So you have 24 more years of having a Virgo Mercury. Now, your nodes have stayed the same. And they take a pretty long time to progress. The outer planets are not going to get very far because they don't move very much. And now what you have is a different interception of Aries to Libra, also there in the 12th to the 6th. You have a Taurus rising, a progressed ascendant of Taurus. So that may be also something that has caused you to be more concerned with stability and money and all that, because now Taurus is your progressed ascendant. So think of this as an overlay on your natal chart. And Pluto's in the 7th. That's relationships. Mars is in the 7th. Mars is still in Scorpio. Venus has progressed into Scorpio. So that's interesting because your natal is 7 degrees. That would be almost 30. You must have a very fast Venus, moving very fast. And so let's see, these guys stayed the same because they don't move very far and they're retrograde anyway. They're probably never going to get anywhere in your whole life ever, outside of those because they're retrograde.
But they are in the 10th house now.
Yes. Now that's in this standalone progressed chart. So that does tell us some stuff. That what are you considering right now? You're really concentrating on career, relationships are going on. Now, this is also the 4th to the 10th is the parental axis. So that might be, I don't want to say for sure, I don't really know, but that might be also an emphasis on, what's going on with your parents. And it's public, more or less, isn't it? I mean, they have to be, people know it's happening. It's not private at home and nobody knows there's a divorce, is there?
Yeah, I mean, it's also like a withdrawal from their other relationships. Like my mom completely stopped talking to my dad's side of the family, but also to all the people that she knows. And my dad hasn't invited anyone over and also like stopped talking to most people. But he already had issues with them. The only reason why he would continue talking to certain people was because my mom was like pushing him to like, you should talk to your brother, like this is like an important person in your life and stuff.
Interesting to see how what was holding those relationships together, isn't it? Yeah, that they really weren't that solid, but they were still working with them. So I can send you, well, you're going to have this in the recording, but I can send you these charts if you want them. Now, for me personally, I like to see this in reference to your natal chart, because that's going to show us where these things are now and how they're dealing in your current life. So let's see. Yeah, the nodes really haven't changed except that they're now. This means this should be. Let me go back to that other progressed chart because I want to see while we're doing this. You don't have an astrology program, do you?
No, I've been using
Astro.com.
Yeah.
This if I bought Solar Fire for no other reason than this feature, I would be happy because you can make this move. You can and I like to.
So amazing,
isn't it? I mean, and it's so easy, and you can do it in any number of ways that you want. But I think that the nodes are going stationary retrograde. Why is this? Why is this not moving more? Well, there the moon is. See, I don't, let's see what the week, we'll do a week. What? Something's not quite right here. Are they going stationary? I'm just about to get my ephemeris out and do this faster because there we go. Yeah, so they were stationary and going retrograde, but they're not there yet. Okay. All right, I wanted to just see what they were doing. So that, when they're stationary as well, that would be a time that you're even more intensely involved in going within and analyzing yourself. So, yes, but they're getting ready, and not for a while, but they're getting ready by progression to turn retrograde.
That's
which
so
means,
interesting that for the nodes, it's like reverse.
yeah, if you have, I'm gonna grab an ephemeris really fast.
Okay.
And if you're doing, this is just me being the teacher because I can't quite help it. If you are reading charts for somebody else, you want to take a look in an ephemeris for the day they were born, simply because, and when you're, and this is something not just but I know other astrologers who teach are like, the problem with people learning it today, it doesn't matter about age, it's just coming into it today, is that they're so involved in the computer, they don't really understand the chart from perspectives that you need to see. And, they're not looking at what's going on with the planets before or after the birth date, because you're not looking in an ephemeris.
Right.
And okay, it's stationary, but stationary what? Is it going direct? And I had to program it to tell me these things. All right. So when you were born on August 23rd, let's see. Yep, you have direct nodes.
Okay.
And you know that the nodes are almost always retrograde.
Right.
Okay. So when you were born, the nodes were direct. Now, what that means, and this is something the astrologer that I used to go to before I started studying astrology seriously, and I probably would have continued going to her, but she died. She said to me, "You have direct nodes. Do you understand what that means?" And I said, "No." I knew what the nodes were, but I didn't understand what that meant. She said it had been her experience that people with direct nodes are working even harder on their karma in this life. So take that to heart for you.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's probably, why you're so intense about this. You're really working on this. This is not a lifetime in which, it's not a focal point. It is a focal point, and you're working really hard to make headway in your karma. So, okay, now we have, in 3 years, a little over 3 years, okay, this sun, your progressed sun, will be trining your natal Neptune.
Oh.
Yeah, that sounds, it's going to be a little over 3 years, maybe, because this is 25 minutes right now, and this is 43 minutes, but it certainly will be an orb, so you'll be feeling it already, because you'll feel it probably about a degree out, so maybe even 2.5 years, 2 years. So this is, even though this Neptune is unaspected, things happen to aspect it. Now here, look at this. Your progressed Venus is conjunct your natal Mars. Exactly. I mean, you got a minute to go.
Oh, right. Oh my God.
That might be a time, in which you might meet somebody that you would be romantically involved with, but it also might be, a time in which you are really putting those two energies together and making something happen in your life in the 7th house. So connecting with other people as well. And that was something that we were talking about, the groups. So that might be something good. And this is progressions now, not transits. This is your internal evolution. Okay, because transits are external energy coming at you. This is you inside, how you've been evolving since you were born. You won't, the outer planets, you're not going to have much going on. Okay, All right. And then in, let's see, this would, I'm trying to think how much Mars would be. Oh, that would be 6, maybe 12 years. Mars will be sextiling your Neptune. So that might be when you really start to boom, I'm really in it now. And I'm, that might be when you start to really go forward in what you're doing, and don't let the time frame bother you, because it'll go fast. And just to let you know, it's really true that when you get older, time goes faster.
Yeah,
True. It's amazing.
I've already been noticing that.
Oh, okay. Well, it gets worse. Just be prepared. Be prepared. And then your progressed ascendant over here is going to be conjuncting your natal moon. So this will be bringing, a nice combination of I'm putting myself out. How I put myself out there is going to have a lot more emotion to it, and will also be enabling your emotional side to be presented. Okay. So you can see where, this is different from the standalone chart, because this shows the changes that have been happening for you according to your natal chart. So that Aries moon, in 11 months and a little bit, a couple weeks, 11 months and a couple weeks, this progressed moon is going to be right on your ascendant. So that might be a time in which you really do start putting yourself out there. And, people will see a more emotional side. But the Aries, being Aries, it's probably going to be less emotional than like if it were, Pisces or Cancer. But it also could be being strong and putting that out emotionally, because Aries is a very strong sign. So, I always say, as a Scorpio, and having had an Aries sun mother, I've always said, if I were going into battle, I want an Aries with me, because they're going to go forward first. I'm going to be behind, waiting for the right moment. Because they love to do that. They'll kill for you. They're really strange. But so, yeah, that's, that can be good. Let's see if any of the other planets have moved into a progression. Yeah, it's unlikely that progressed Neptune in your lifetime will enter your 11th house. It's probably always going to be in your 10th, because it's still retrograde. And it moves very slowly. Jupiter has gone back 3 degrees. So does the 12 do anything? Well, it did at one point in conjunct your Mercury, but that was a while back when it was at 14. So, you still got a strong 6th house emphasis. You haven't really changed house emphases. Your midheaven. Yeah, look at this, your midheaven. Now, one of the things with the midheaven is, which in less than a year by progression will conjunct your natal Neptune. I'm sorry, about a year. I'm looking at the progressed at 18 minutes, but the natal is at 43 minutes. So in about a year, your progressed midheaven is going to hit that Neptune. That might be a really good time to see, because it's Neptune. And what is Neptune about? It's about the spiritual, it's about healing, it's about bringing healing and universal concepts to others. That might be a time in which you start to really make that push toward what you're doing, if you don't get there before that. Okay, so that's where you are right now. So let's see, this is transits. I'm going to do a now transit, so we get the moon wherever it is. I just last night got information. I had years ago a chart that had a double interception in it, and I could not find it when I was putting together this latest interceptions program. And last night I was in a board meeting for an astrology group in Chicago, and one of the people said, I've just had 2 brand new great grandchildren be born, and they're twins, and they have a double interception because they were born in Alaska. And I'm like, could I have that information? Because I can use that. And so she gave me the information. She said, because they just, on the birth certificate, the doctors just said they were born at the same time. Well, they weren't, but, you know, she'll probably rectify it because she's a really good astrologer. So it'll be interesting what she comes up with. So that was pretty nice of her to do. Give me that. So now I have a double interception. Yay. It's the, you know, see what we get excited about?
Yeah, that is exciting.
It is, yeah. Okay, so here are the transits as of this moment. And so what now, when you're looking at the transits, don't look at the ascendant and the midheaven because they're going to change as we're speaking.
Right.
Okay, so now look at, look at what's going on in your 8th house. That's coming to, you've just had the South Node, the transiting South Node conjunct your Pluto, because remember they go backwards. So they're going to go, okay. And the sun is sextiling your Neptune. Now that happens every year. So, you know, how important is that? Well, it's not, but you can pretty much count on certain kind of energy at this time of the year, every year. And Mercury, maybe not, because it could be to either side of the sun, but it's never going to be that far, but it could have already moved into Sagittarius. So that, you know, I would say that probably we've had some Neptune stuff going on, and maybe that's it. You had Saturn, transiting Saturn, hit your Uranus. So that was probably where you're saying, I got to do something. I got to put some structure and organization here.
And at the same time being like, no, organization sucks and drains the life out of me.
Yeah. But remember that with a conjunction, the two planets have to learn to work together, whether they like it or they don't. Yeah. And these two would certainly, well, you know, on the other hand, look where Saturn is. It's the co-ruler of Aquarius, because traditionally it's the ruler of Aquarius. So that is not as bad as it might be.
Right.
Simply because they both want the good Aquarian, and there's two parts to the Aquarian. I've had to really reconcile in myself, how does Saturn fit Aquarius?
Right.
You know, I know because they didn't have any more planets to give the signs to. I know, I get that part, but how did it really work? And I'm only now really beginning to feel comfortable with that and understand it, but I'm still not quite there. I really feel Uranus fits. Mm-hmm. But with your Chris Brennan, you are using Saturn for Aquarius, aren't you? Is he using the outer planets?
Yeah, he is using Saturn, but I've been looking like at other people's like astrology and everything. I actually started with Placidus, and like it wasn't until more recently, like the past year, that I started using full sign houses more often. But like with your talk, I realized like, oh, like I kind of like forgot about Placidus because of this whole interception thing that I thought was really valid. But then I was like, but like these two astrologers were like, oh, like interceptions don't really mean much. And then you said that it's because they don't have an interception.
That's been my personal experience. The only astrologers that said they don't matter are ones who don't have them. Yeah. And every astrologer I've ever known who has an interception is like, oh, yeah. You know, so I don't know. I mean, you know, obviously, you know that there are so many different ways to do astrology and so many different opinions, and none of them is wrong. They just, you got to find what fits. Okay. So let's see that 12, we don't have anything at 12, but Venus just finishing up a square to your ascendant, which may be also, you know, but that happens every year at this time too. You know,
I feel like that matches up. Like my desire, first of all, like with the job stuff, like reconsidering everything and like whether or not it's like creatively engaging, and then also considering like relationships and stuff. I feel like it comes up around this time too.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch. When I had a sewing and pattern making business many years ago, and you know, I had designer clients and private wardrobe clients. And in January, I could always count on being hugely busy in January because the designers all wanted everything to go in, all these new patterns to be made to go into the factory for production. And maybe I'm making samples for them, maybe I'm not. And then, people are getting ready for their spring wardrobe and stuff. And it was just consistent every January. I could count on it. And I have Capricorn on the 7th house cusp. So those are my patrons. Come on in.
Yeah.
I needed the money, so I was always glad to see them. I had lovely, lovely clients, so I was always happy to see them. But, Venus in a couple days, like 5 days, is going to be trining your moon. So that'll be, 5 days will be probably nice. Also, maybe another time to meet somebody, because that's 17, that's 4. In 8 days, Mars, transiting Mars, will be opposing your moon, which might not be so good. But it, so if you feel a little at that time or emotionally distraught, let it go, because that happens every 2 years to you at approximately this time. So, transiting Neptune, and maybe this is what's been spurring you too, is that transiting Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, is conjunct your south node, saying, let's dig up some stuff from the past and see what this is about.
Yeah.
That's a possibility. So, and the nodes, south node on Pluto, also that south node wants to dig up what had happened. Let's bring up old things and, dig them out. Now, this is only going to happen like just under 19, every 19 years. So this is the second time this is happening for you. That's coming. So I'm not seeing anything major. The Saturn Uranus, with that was a bit back, and transiting Pluto. When transiting Pluto hits your Neptune, that should be significant.
Okay.
That might be also, what did we say was a turning point period when we were looking at your progressions? It's in here, so it's there, but
The sun
Yeah.
trine.
a couple years.
Or the conjunction to the MC for Neptune.
I'm not sure. We'll put that up again, but I want to see when this Pluto hits Neptune, transiting Pluto hits Neptune, because that will be important. So 2743. Okay. Oh, coming up soon. February of next year.
Oh shit.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind that people panic about Pluto. Pluto says, I'm here to say to you in this part of your life, whatever I'm influencing at this moment, and oh my, we're in career, 10th house, right? I need you to look at it, see what is not working, and get rid of it. And if you do that, and Pluto does not care if it's a small change, it's looking for change, but it's looking for change to get rid of stuff that's taking up space so it can bring in new stuff that works for you, who you are and where you are in life right now. And what it wants you to get rid of is what it's old and it's not working anymore. And you don't have space in your life for the new stuff that needs to come in that's going to benefit you now. If you do not go with the changes, then Pluto is, because it's going to retrograde back and forth. In fact, as I recall, and I could be wrong, I thought it got to 27. It didn't. No, it got to 26. Oh, is that right? Yeah, it got to 26. So it was within orb. So it did push that Neptune, but now it's going to actually sit on it. And because it retrogrades, you're going to have that opportunity. So when it hits Neptune, you'll have that awareness of, oh, wow, I really need to be paying attention to this. And then when it retrogrades back over the planet, that's the time in which you start to analyze it and say, okay, what's going on here? What needs to happen? And then when it goes direct again is when you put the new stuff into place. Do not ignore it.
Okay.
Whatever you can change in that area of your life, do it. Because if you don't, you're giving the planet the option to use its energy, and that is never good. Because it'll make chaos not fun. Not
I
fun
think-
chaos.
I think last time when it did get close within orb, it like that was the same time when my job furloughed me. It was
Oh.
like,
That
So-
would have been, let's see, it was at 26:0. That you might have felt it by then anyway. Even though it's not, I usually look at it as 1 degree, but I'm flexible on that. Yeah, so that was March, April, and May of 2021. Was that when the furlough happened?
Yeah.
Okay, so be conscious of that, because when this hits Neptune in 2022, might be the time to start really seriously thinking about making that job change, because the energy is going to be there for it.
right.
And even if it's a change within the job you have that you've chosen to keep, which you could certainly do, make some changes in how you do that, because all Pluto's saying is make some changes here.
Got
It
it.
doesn't really care how big or how little or exactly what, but it wants change. And if you don't do it, then you're giving it the rein to do it. And it's going to be much more heavy-handed, let's say, than you would do it if you're controlling it. I
Right.
would be amazed at how many people go, oh, well, I still don't want to do it. I'm like, oh, please don't do that. That is not the answer you want to give, because
Yeah.
it's going to do it and it won't be pretty and you won't be happy. But I don't want to make any changes. Well, what can I say? You've made a choice. I'm not going to be responsible. Okay. Do you have anything else that you wanted to look at or talk about? Let's do the tri-wheel so we can see. We'll put the progressed in the middle, because we were looking at, we were looking at this. Sorry, I have a memory of about 30 seconds. So we were saying, forget what we said about the progressions. But you have it recorded. That's why we record it,
Yeah.
so we can go back to it. But I can send you these 3 charts if you want, and you can just have them in your file instead of going on. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about?
I was kind of interested to see what you thought of like my dad and my chart together.
Oh, sure. When is your dad's birthday? And do you have his time?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
August
Wait,
24th.
okay,
Sorry.
August 24th. That's all
Yeah.
right. August 24th.
Of 1990 or 67.
67.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Um,
well, I gave you transits for Anchorage. They're probably not that different. So,
yeah.
yeah.
It was in sorry, I have
That's okay.
the country first.
Okay.
Montenegro, that's MNE. Yeah.
Oops. Where is Montenegro?
It's across the ocean from Italy.
Oh, okay. All right. Is that in Africa then? I'm a typical American. I'm very bad in geography.
It's across the ocean within Europe.
Oh, so it's Eastern Europe then.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Hold on. Okay. So 5:20 a.m.
And what town is he in?
Oh, Kotor. That's Kotor.
Okay. And what was the time then?
5:20
Wait,
a.m.
5:20 a.m. See, now this is interesting because it's saying that's Yugoslavia.
Oh, right, because it was far enough back.
I guess. I don't know. So 5:20 a.m. is what you said, right?
Yes.
Okay. You know what? Okay. All right. Let's see again. Okay. All right. So, now interestingly enough, do you think it matters that your father's planets are in conjuncted in your chart too? And for you, he's got to come out in Leo?
Yeah.
Look at all that Virgo. Wow. That's a
Yeah.
lot.
Right.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Oh, that was
Wow.
fun.
Oh, wow. And his Pluto sits on your north node
Right.
within 10 minutes.
Ugh. And
There's
I
a
hate
family dynamic for you.
right.
Wow. But,
And I hate that his Saturn is conjunct my ascendant because I feel like
oh, wow.
that's like me. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Mm-mm. And it sits in your 12th, even though it really, I mean, you can read it both sides. But yeah, wow. This is really something. Boy, oh boy. And his moon is with it. Your Saturn sits on his moon, so you're getting him back.
But mine's in his 8th house. I feel like that's even worse.
Maybe. I mean, but look at the karma between you.
Right.
I mean, seriously, this is one of those things where you say, yeah, you can see the connections in a family.
Right.
This is really, and he's got Uranus in Virgo too. But Mercury at 29 Leo, my goodness. Well, I can't get it in Virgo, but I come real close. Oh, it's only 10 minutes off. Wow. That's phenomenal. So really his Mercury's conjunct your sun.
Yep.
But look at the Jupiter in the 5th. That's very nice.
Yeah.
He wants you to be creative. He wants to help you. He wants to give you energy to follow those 5th house kinds of things, that Jupiter brings some benefits. Do you have fun with your dad? Did you ever?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, like growing up, we would hike a lot, and one of the reasons that I'm even interested in astrology is because of him.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Jupiter in that 5th, that's saying I can bring a lot of fun into your life, pleasure and excitement, risk taking. And that, maybe that's part of why he is interested in having you follow something in finance,
Right.
because this is speculation, the house of speculation too. Yeah, cool. This is really, really interesting. Have you taken a good look at him by himself?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at it in a while, but I definitely like, even when I've tried to like show him like what I've learned through astrology, I've gone through his chart.
Mm-hmm.
I remember though that distinctly the first time I saw his chart, I was like, this is kind of scary actually.
Yeah, I have a friend, the first time I saw his chart, I literally gasped
Oh my
because
God.
it had so many points with mine that were
Yeah.
exact that I was like,
Oh
oh
my
my God. Yeah, this is scary. Oh, it's interesting. Your dad has Mercury trine his north node. So, putting himself out there in thoughts and that kind of thing, communication. What does he do for a living?
He's a car salesman,
Oh, okay.
but he's actually really good at like the story. Like he'll tell a good story, and I feel like that's part of the way that he connects when he's like selling a car too.
Mhm,
Well, he
mhm.
works for, I don't know if it matters. He works for Mercedes, and
Mhm.
like he is very passionate about the brand itself, like
Yeah.
the cars.
Well, he
When
should be. That's great. That's probably why he's very successful at it.
and also like when he grew up in Yugoslavia, like that was like their the car that most of them would go to. Like they would get like a 2000, like an older version of the car just to have something reliable. And they really glorify the German work ethic, like to an extent that I've never seen in any other country.
Wow.
So that was like something that I really noticed.
But the ability to relate like that is very important, especially in a sales position, and especially, I would say, I'm sure it would make sense to say, and especially in a high end kind of thing, but it matters in anything. It doesn't matter, because people want to hear, they want you to help them understand this is really the right thing for you to do. And if you believe it, it comes across as sincerity, and they trust you more. And I'm not saying, that there aren't people who fake that well, but I think most people generally recognize if you're faking it.
Yeah. I know, like, also there are things about like car salesmen that they're like trying to, hit you, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where his Virgo placements really help.
Yeah. Look at this 12th house and first house. Yeah.
Right.
It's very concentrated.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is very interesting. Is he good looking? Yeah, the Venus in the first house is the reason I'm asking that.
Yeah.
And he's probably really good at explaining the beautiful details of the car and why what the benefit of this is, because that's a Venus there. And the Venus, I have Venus in Virgo as well. So, which is often a sign of a seamstress, by the way. Yeah. And how is that? You're like, whoa,
he does.
Yeah. But the beauty is, I usually explain to people that, okay, it's in its fall, but I like it because Venus in Virgo sees the beauty of things is in the details.
Right.
What makes this so special? And he's got Pluto in the first. Okay. And with conjunct Uranus. Now, anybody born around his time, for 7 years or so is going to have this going on. But with this Pluto in the first house, he needs some time to be alone because he needs to have time by himself to analyze himself, to really see what's truly going on with him. So he can be very social, but he's got to come away from that sometime and actually set up time to just be with himself. Okay. So, if he's doing that, then that's okay for him to do. Now, he has Jupiter trine his moon. So usually he's probably in pretty good shape emotionally, except lately. But yeah. Is that true? And that moon in Aries, this is an aggressive moon.
Yes.
So, yeah, not highly emotional.
And definitely no patience.
Yeah. One of my friends is 4 years older than I am. She's a Scorpio, and she has Scorpio sun. She has the moon in Cancer. I forget what degree. And at this time, and I have the moon in Virgo, conjunct my Venus. And at this point in time, both of us have a progressed Taurus moon. And, so we're analyzing our moons. I don't know that we've had the same progressed moon very often, but we know we do right now. And we're talking about the fact that we're both going to die with a progressed Aquarius sun, and that does not make two Scorpios real happy. So, but we have a lot of fun talking about this stuff, but yeah.
Oh, God.
Okay. Yeah, this is very interesting. And I like how, you have don't worry about your relationship with your dad. Okay. You've got too much togetherness. Just look at it from the point of view that he is in a bad space right now. And maybe a lot of the stuff he says, he doesn't really mean. It's just, he's not himself. Yeah. Going through all of this. But yeah, you've got way too much for this to have any real issues. Okay. Yeah. I think, go ahead.
I really appreciate looking at that. Sorry, I know it was
Oh,
like
no,
kind
no
of,
problem.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll email you these charts and you can have those just, to look at easily. Because personally, I hate the formatting of the charts on astro.com. Yeah, I that's a European style, and there's nothing in their repertoire that I like looking at. Although that is, if I have something coming up on solar fire and I'm like, oh, I'm not so sure about this, I'll check it with astro.com because they are the best. Also, if you go to Swiss Ephemeris, you can pull up an ephemeris page from any time in like the last 6,000 years or something. And
Oh
it's
my
online. Yeah, I mean, because a lot of people don't want to buy an ephemeris because they're expensive. And at this time, I'm on the computer most of the time, but it is, excuse me, I need a sip of water. If you are doing something for somebody else particularly, and you want to see where was any planet slowing down to go retrograde, was it slowing down to station and go direct, and you aren't going to see that on the computer. And so it's important to know, because for example, with Mercury going retrograde a minimum of 3 times a year, if somebody is born with Mercury retrograde, well, when did it go direct? Was it, what was going on? Or it's maybe they were born the day before it stationed to go retrograde. You're not going to see that from the computer, and that would be important to know because their Mercury's slow, and that's going to affect them. So yeah, all kinds of things. So that's why I always suggest looking in ephemeris if you are doing a chart for someone and see what was happening. Although I didn't do that for you, oddly enough. Do what I say, not what I do.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right. So I think that's it. If you think that's it.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like so much more like, I don't know, like understood, and also like even in my own like understand, like more comfortable with kind of the ideas that I have had it in mind, and like more able to pursue them, I think.
Well, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because that's what I was hoping the outcome of this would be, because I do Akashic record readings as well. I don't know if you know what that is. And it's always interesting to me. The astrology, not so much, but sometimes. But with that, people don't come when they've got nothing they're concerned about. So when they walk in, when I was doing this in person and even online, but more so you could really see it in person when they'd come in the door, you could see they had a burden they were carrying. Their physicality was like, ugh, and then going through everything and, finding solutions or reasons or whatever. And when they were walking out, they're like, yes, thank you. Thank you. That's what we're doing here, So I'm very glad that feel good about yourself. You have a lot of wonderful, wonderful things. And the universe and the chart you have chosen to come in with give you a lot of support. Those look, I don't know very many people who have that many planets in domicile or exaltation. That's something. So keep that in mind. You've got everything you need to do in order to go forward with what you want. But just be careful that you don't get stuck. And I don't think you will at this point. I think you're seeing, no, I'm good to go. But you just need to see how you're going to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. But you've got, and keep reminding yourself you're in the beginning of your life, more or less.
Okay.
There's a lot of time to go. Don't worry about, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. Well, yeah, there are lots of points where you get there and then you say, oh, I've got further to go. So don't worry about that so much. It's normal. It's a tough time of life. And read up on the Saturn return, because yours is coming.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, listen, I've had 2 Saturn returns. I find this one, in my course on houses, I often use this as an example, because I've had the chance to watch Saturn go through my chart twice. So I have, what happened each time Saturn was in this house. And now I'm watching Saturn go through my chart for the third time. And it's fascinating because it's like, oh, I know this. You know, I've been here before and I'm not worried about it because I've been there before. I know how that works. So, you know, watching it go through the different houses and seeing that each time, not the same thing, but a similar thing or similar problems or similar stressors came into effect. If you, and this is something with your first one coming up particularly, if you are on the right path for you, the Saturn return is not a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal in that you pay attention, but it's not going to be traumatic.
Got it.
Or as traumatic as it can. At my first Saturn return, I was looking at the same damn stuff I was looking at in my second Saturn return. But this time I'm like, oh, okay, then I know what to do. But yeah, go ahead.
Is it okay if I ask what
Of course.
the condition of your Saturn is?
Oh, my Saturn's actually pretty happy.
Okay.
I'll show you my chart. You don't, I mean, I'm not private about it.
Oh my God.
Oh no, I'm not one of those people.
Okay.
I don't exactly understand what.
Why?
I don't. Although I have been in groups and stuff with people who are like, no, no, you cannot see my chart. But this is my chart. And actually my chart I used in the interceptions. I use my chart and stuff a lot because I can, because in my classes, I don't usually use, I almost never, I want to say I never do, but I'm not sure that's true. Use the charts of famous people. I always use charts of people I actually know. And I've been criticized by people I know saying, you shouldn't do that. That's a, and I'm like, you know what? They're my friends. I know they don't care. When I say, you know, you're my example for this, and it's a negative thing, they're like, cool, thank you. Oh, wow, that's great. So I'm in the class. And because I can tell you what's really happening with them.
Yeah.
And how they handle it, because I watch them do it every day. So this is my chart. Here is my Saturn. And the only negative thing about the Saturn is it's square to Mars, which I think has been actually quite beneficial for me because this Mars had the opportunity to be fairly wild. And the Saturn said, no, that's not a good idea for us. We're not going to do that. But it sextiles Uranus. And it sextiles my sun.
Oh, that's very cool.
And how this works out, and it trines my north node. So I like my Saturn. I don't really find it restrictive. But what I do find is that the Uranus trine my sun, you know, says, yeah, I'm sorry, even though it's not the norm and it's not acceptable, I simply have to be me. And so I am. And the Saturn says, you know, I'm very disciplined, although I'm also good at saying, I'm just giving it all up. I don't care. I'm not doing anything. And I'm good with that. So the discipline, I'm not okay with, with the Uranus and Saturn. I am not okay with other people telling me what to do, but I'm real good with telling myself what to do. And I'm also good with telling myself, yeah, you don't have to do that after all. It's okay. So, yeah. So yes, but see, I have that interception. This is what I used in the class, was my interception.
Right. You also have the 6th and 12th, right? Can't. Oh wait, no.
No, that's the 4th and the 10th.
4th.
The interceptions in the 4th and the 10th. What were you?
Right. Okay.
Oh, and no, I have a grand square. It's not a completely mutable grand square because Uranus is part of it, but it's out of sign. So 27 to 0 square midheaven, square moon and Venus, opposed Jupiter, which squares the midheaven and squares the moon and Venus. So this is a grand square out of sign, but essentially a mutable grand square because Uranus is only 21 minutes away from Gemini.
And how has that been?
It's as I told you, there's 11 individual squares.
Right.
I am never not doing something.
Oh my God.
It drives me crazy. It drives me crazy. And the friend, I said, I gasped when I saw his chart. I said to him, "Oh, I'm so lazy." And he said, "Are you nuts? You are the busiest, workingest person I know. You are not lazy." And I'm like, "Well, I didn't do anything productive today."
Oh my God.
It's okay. So I am learning to relax. It's really hard. And I've done a lot of different careers in my life, which I'm telling you, don't be afraid to take that chance, especially when you're young, because you've got time to make it up if it doesn't work out, time to change. And after I left my sewing and pattern making business, I became a real estate broker. Why? It was like out of nowhere, because here's my fifth house. I lived in this fifth house zone. I did, I'd always been doing something in the art world, creating something. And all of a sudden, I was like, I need to make money. And I loved when I was doing my pattern making and sewing, and it was my own business, so I would get up every morning and I was so excited to work. I loved doing it. And all of a sudden, I didn't love doing it anymore after 11 years. And I was like, I have no marketable skills, none, zero, to go out into the world and get a job that is anything I want to do. I don't want to work in an office. And my mom loved office work, sun in the sixth house, but in Aries with I forget what else is in there, but she just loved office work, and she couldn't understand why I didn't want to work in an office. Or how about being a teller in a bank? And I'm like, no, you could just put the gun to my head right now. How about that? So she was living in Sun City, Arizona, which is a retirement community built by Del Webb, very, the original. And she was working in Del Webb's office as support staff. And so I decided I had to figure out what to do with my life, because I just couldn't do the sewing anymore. And I lived hand to mouth, and I was successful. That's, I never had no work. I was always busy, but I couldn't earn enough money. I needed to have employees, and I was not about to do that. So I took 2 weeks to go visit my mother and try to figure out my life. And while I was in Sun City, Arizona, it's a retirement community. People are dying all the time. So we're walking around one day, and I just keep hearing ambulances. I'm like, are those people dying? And she's like, probably, So I said, so I started thinking about real estate here must be really easy to do, because you've got a constant market. And I had anticipated moving to Arizona or Phoenix area because of the weather, as I hate cold weather, and I'm here in Chicago. And oh yeah. So I said to my mom, what do you think if I became a real estate agent? She's, that'd be wonderful. You'd be so good. I would so love it. Right. Because it's something she understands, because everything I'd ever done, she's like, yeah, I'm glad you do that. Yeah, you're good at that. And I'm thinking, you don't even know what I'm doing. But so she said, yeah, you'd be great at it and you would love it. So I came back to Chicago, took the class, got my license, got a job, in an office here. That was a company. It's an old Chicago family company from 1855. It's absolutely wonderful company. And so that's where I wanted to go, because it's the fifth generation of the family that is running it. And they're very much about integrity, fair house, a really good company. So I did that, and man, I loved it. It was so much fun. And that's where I'm saying with this. Now, people always say it's a sales position. I always looked at it as a service position, because what am I doing? I'm taking care of people. I'm helping them. It's not about selling them something. It's not about selling their house or selling them a property. It's about, what do they need? How can I help them get it? And I was pretty successful at it. And I had very loyal clients, and people said things to me. Have you ever thought of being a counselor? Like, well, sort of, because I do astrology on the side, so that's kind of counseling. And after about, and this is my Jupiter cycle, after about 11 years, when Jupiter was making a return, I'm like, I'm kind of bored with this now. But I don't have any other idea what to do. So I got my license to teach real estate, and I did that with sales for another 12 years. And that was wonderful also. And I wrote courses for that, and was able to save enough money that I could actually, with Social Security, here's my story, retire from teaching real estate. Because after 11 years, I got tired of doing that. And I, continued in various ways, but then the pandemic came in, and I did not want to teach that online. I just couldn't. Astrology's fine online, but I needed the live audience for real estate students. It's a whole different breed. They're not there because they really want to be. It's different from astrology. You need to be in the classroom. But yeah, so I just a year ago in August said I'm completely done teaching real estate, and I'm not renewing my licenses, and I'm done. So now I'm just doing this stuff. But yeah, so you can change, and I've really enjoyed everything I've done when I was doing it, and then hit my point. There you go. But I always wonder, and I'll put this out there, give it some thought. What happens when you have a Jupiter return? Now, I'm thinking mine is in the 6th house of work.
And that explains that.
Yeah,
helps.
I think so. And I know another astrologer who is really big on the Jupiter cycle and Jupiter returns. So, I haven't seen him in years. He's got a lot of personal stuff going on, but he was really, oh, you're going to have a Jupiter return. Oh my God, you got to do this. He was really, so I started paying attention, and I went, oh, wait, every time I have a Jupiter return, I change careers, or at least I change something I'm doing in it. So I can keep doing it. And real estate's the only thing I've ever done more than 12 years. So, yeah, but I changed how I was doing it when I hit that Jupiter return. I changed what I'm going to focus on this from now on, and not that, and blah, blah, blah. And then I added the teaching to it, which changed it too. And that's the only way I think I was able to stay in it.
Yeah. Do you think Pluto also supports that?
Yes.
That's your grand square, right?
Pluto is not a part of my grand square.
Oh my God. I'm looking at, hold on.
Here's my Pluto in the 2nd.
Hold on. I just need to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, no, Pluto, if the astrologer that I used to go to, I think she explained a lot of stuff in astrological terms, because she said to me, I'm going to use astrological terms in your reading, the first one, because I can't imagine that you won't become a professional astrologer in the future.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, okay, because, that's a lot. I'd love to be that as my last career, but boy, that's going to take a lot of work and study. And she said, yeah, but I think you'll do it. And here I am. But she said, you can make a lot of money if you want to. And she said, even though you say you're broke all the time, which was true, it'll always show up when you need it. And I think she was looking at the Jupiter to Pluto. They're 10 degrees apart, but depending on your orbs, what you use, I use 8, and then for the in conjunct 4. But I don't know what she was using, but I think that's what she was talking about, because I don't know. I really don't know. I'm Jupiter. It's, in the 6th in Sagittarius. It's in Sagittarius. That's really good. I have great health, by the way. So, yeah, I don't know, but it squares. It's an exact square basically to Venus. I am not a lucky person, but I'm very fortunate. I have wonderful friends, and good things come to me, but I'm not lucky. And I have a friend who is an 8-degree Sag Sun and Jupiter is at 8 degrees of Sag for her. So it's right with her sun. And she's lucky. She's found loose diamonds on the sidewalk more than once.
How does that even happen?
Like, yeah, okay. But twice, I found another diamond today. Oh my God, what? $100 bill on the floor, on the sidewalk, nobody around, no way to know who it belongs to. And if we go to some place where there's a raffle or a drawing, she wins it.
Oh my God.
It's amazing. It's amazing. There are times when I've said to her, she won an iPod. Was it an iPad? I think it was an iPad. I got her to go to this thing with me because I wanted to go, and I could have gone alone, but I thought, oh, come on. So she went and she won the door prize of an iPad. I'm like, you should be giving that to me because I'm the reason you're here. She's like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Oh my God.
But it's kind of interesting. Now, she doesn't have great health though, because it's in her 5th house. I shouldn't say because, but to give you an idea of what Jupiter in the 6th can do, and because I have another friend who has Jupiter in the 6th in Capricorn. Okay. And she, and not all my friends, but a lot of my friends, we drink. I don't mean we get drunk, but we like our wine in the day, not in the day, in the eat, I meant per day. And this friend is, has been a drinker, and we're all about the same age. So this has been a long time that we've all been doing this. And she donated blood, and they analyzed her blood and found out that she had hepatitis C and had had it. Yeah. And had it since she had a blood transfusion like 40 years ago when she had surgery. That she had hepatitis C. And I had 2 friends for whom they had gotten hepatitis C in their early 20s from surgery, and they weren't testing for it then. So they got it through the blood transfusion, not from, they weren't intravenous drug users or anything like that. Okay. So she'd been drinking, which this is a liver problem.
Oh my
and
God.
They tested her, did all these tests with her liver, nothing wrong with her liver, nothing wrong. And she said to the doctor, well, can I still drink? And he said, I guess, because all this time it hasn't done anything to your liver. So it's obviously not making an impact. So then to get rid of the hepatitis C, they put her on an experimental drug. She was one of the, guinea pigs. And it was supposed to cure it within 12 weeks. There was a weekly, I don't know, I think she took a pill, but I don't really remember. And it cured her in 5 weeks.
Oh my God.
So this is the power of Jupiter in the 6th. I'm hardly ever sick. And if I am, I'm like shocked. How could this be? How could I be sick? I have Jupiter and Sag in the 6th. It doesn't work that way. So there's, interesting stuff with these things. Yeah. So that's it. But yeah. So I really am an introvert, as you can see.
Yeah.
And I figured that the reason I can, talk so much and get out there and do programs is this 5th house sun that says, I have to be on stage sometime. Come on, let's do it. And then we crawl back into our hole and, get real quiet.
Well, you also have the North Node in the 11th, right?
Yeah, groups. Yeah. And I can speak to, it's hard to do your North Node. Yeah. I don't think I'm doing great progress with it, but I'm doing what I can. And I have of late become more involved in groups than I've ever been, but they're astrology groups.
Yeah. Well, the one that I went to, that was like earth shattering.
Oh, well, it was your first time learning about interceptions then, I guess, or what?
It was my first time like hearing someone talk about interceptions. Like I had looked into them before, but I hadn't heard anyone like validate them or,
I'm glad I could help you. I that's really the most fun part for me. I mean, I love preparing and writing and all that, but I love it when it makes a difference for somebody, a positive difference, because that's what we're all really here for. Learn ourselves and help everybody else along the way. So good luck to you. And let me know what happens if you wouldn't mind. I'm going to put you on my mailing list if that's okay.
Oh my God, yes, please.
Okay, great.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
So we have some cool stuff coming up next year. I haven't decided what it's going to be or when, but you know, I'm taking this semester off. I'm not, you know, because I teach through a place, an esoteric center, and I usually do beginning classes twice a year, and then 3 or 4 workshops during the year. And I just was like, I want time I just want to read and not have responsibilities, but that hasn't worked out very well. So I'll put you on the mailing list, but do let me know how things go. I really think you've got a wonderful future. Just believe it and don't worry about it, which I know is easy to say, but I've been where you are. Believe me, I know what you're feeling, and you've got that Uranus for you is jump off the cliff. You'll land just fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you got a lot to offer.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me participate in your life. So have a great time. Don't worry about things. I know that's hard not to do, but you know, the universe has got your back. And here's another thing. Keep in mind that this is something that I, you know, have had to really face a number of times in my life. And I have come to realize all the stuff I said that I believe in, when push came to shove, I really believed it. And it helps a lot to get through those tough spots. The universe is not against you. It's completely on your side. The things that come that are very difficult are there to help you grow and become better at who you really are. They're not there to hurt you or harm you. You know, and this has been something of late I've really come to believe, that when you go for something, you know, like a job or whatever, and you don't get it, it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's because that's not what you should be doing. So we're not going to let you have it, because otherwise you're going to be in a spot you shouldn't really be in, and you're going to get stuck. You have the chance to get stuck. So, you know, relationships, when they don't work out, well, you can look at, you know, and I say this in my relationship class, you know, you can look at it like, look at the synastry here. It doesn't work.
Right.
You know, so why would you want to continue in it? That doesn't make it any easier. It hurts still, but it's the truth. And you've learned something, and you've taken something from everyone you've been in that relationship with. Well, I don't know who this is. So, you know, kind of look at it that way, and it's a more optimistic look on life. Okay. So, okay. Goodbye.
I hope you have a great Thanksgiving.
Oh, I'm going to send you this recording. It'll be on a YouTube, and it'll be private between you and me only. You can share it, I think, if you want to, but I will not. Nobody else can access it but you and me.
Yeah.
But I've already been here, so it doesn't matter. Okay, you take care. Good luck to you. And please do really let me know how you're doing, okay?
Thank you. You too. And I definitely will.
Okay, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now stop the recording, and then we'll get out of here. I have to stop.